time of tradition. There were three filmmakers with nothing in common. They thought they had it all figured out. They don't just follow the movies, they make them. Alexander Pavlak, Mario Silvas, and Jamaal Alexander are the makers on film.
I think Silly Vass is calling us. Hello?
You're trying to do in the what now?
What now?
He's been going on for days now about something about bending you over a pool table. I don't know what that's about.
It is the major topic of our last podcast.
All right. Well, if it's not a full-size pool table, then you and I have to talk.
Damn it!
That's what I was trying to tell him, that one of those kiddie ones, like the foosball table, was not going to hold your weight. But
Exactly. Come on, dude. I have class, dude.
Fine. Would you settle for a large ping pong table?
Who wouldn't?
I'm gonna have to go with no on that on the record. Off the record, we'll talk.
We'll talk later.
All right, and welcome to Makers on Film. My name is Alexander Pavlak. I'm your resident writer-director. With me, again, is Mario I. Silvas.
Non-resident.
Non-resident because, you skipped last week.
I was working.
You got demoted to, cabin boy.
I'm used to it. I'm brown. It's all right.
And our resident actor, Jamaal Alexander.
Non-resident, but I do have a green card.
Our green card actor, Jamaal Alexander.
There you go.
That's a fucking lie.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have a green card either, but...
It's literally just a construction card that's green.
You just missed it. We were talking about Bill Duke. You know who Bill Duke is?
Bill Duke. No, but I will in about 30 seconds.
Right.
Or we can just tell you.
See, that takes one away.
Hang on. Let him figure it out.
No. Tell me. Oh, hell yeah, Bill Duke. Yeah.
Do you know he was the director?
Was he really?
Yeah. This is the one that Alex kind of got shocked by. Guess what he directed? Give me a random movie here. I want to tell you how far from it is.
Sister Act 2.
You just looked that up.
How amazing would that have been if he pulled that out of his ass?
Oh, that would have been funny. Actually, right when you asked me, that's when the window pulled up. I was like, oh, Bill Duke. All right, he was in Sister Act 2.
No, he directed Sister Act 2.
Oh, did he really? Oh, I thought he was just in it.
No, he directed it.
Nope.
No fucking way. I was just being a jackass. Son of a bitch. He directed. Dude, I just went on Google really quick. I didn't even go to his IMDb.
You know what? Now I have to look up, how was Sister Act 2 received? Does it have good reviews?
Honestly, it's a Whoopi Goldberg movie in the 90s. Wasn't terrible. I'm looking at it right now. It's a 5.3 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes. 7. Yep.
7%?
7%.
7%.
I didn't hate the movie, but to be perfectly honest, I like Whoopi Goldberg's a personal favorite of mine, so I would tear in a movie about grass growing.
Oh, dude, I'm down with Whoopi. Are you kidding me? She's hilarious.
Whoopi and I were born on the same day.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, she's older than me, but we have the exact same birthday.
No, well, yeah, I figured, you weren't the same age.
By the way, I'm just reading Ben Stiller's mother died.
Aw.
Today, apparently.
That sucks.
Or last night, but it was reported today.
That sucks.
Guys, let's take a moment's silence. Sorry, it caught my eye really quick when I was going through.
That's fine. Did you guys catch Letterman's last show?
No, I didn't realize his last show was what was it, Friday?
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday? I thought it was Friday.
It aired on a Wednesday, I believe.
Oh, I don't know. I saw it on YouTube, so.
Same here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll have to check that out later. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Leno guy, so it was a bit. I don't know how I really felt about it, but I can respect that the man was on the air for 33 years, and
yeah, seriously.
there were so many other, like, it's the reactions other comics are giving him, like Romano and McDonald and Kimball all breaking into tears just talking about him. That stuff got to me.
I was actually watching the Conan O'Brien show. He actually stopped his show and said, guys, turn me off and go to channel whatever. He's like, but go to your local network. This is his last show tonight. Watch it right now. He's like, it's cool if you guys turn away. I'm okay with it. Go watch him, though.
Which is a classy move. I'm not a big fan of Conan. I think he really kind of like let Leno out to dry with that situation. But I thought it was a classy thing on his part. At least he has loyalty to one of the two big guys.
Well, he didn't drive anybody out. That was actually the lawyers screwing over O'Brien.
Here's my thing. The whole story starts with O'Brien saying either you give me the Tonight Show or I go to another network. The producer saying, well, we got to keep the younger of the two guys, and they go to Leno and tell him, hey, you're out, even though Leno had given no indication that he was ready to leave. That show is pretty much, when you're the host, it should be your decision when you're done.
No. He is a meat puppet for that point in time. There were other people in charge of that. He is an actor, if you look at it that way.
Carson set the standard. He took the show, and when he was done, he said, I was done, I'm ready to go. He left on his own terms. That's how the host should go, unless you do like Conan O'Brien. And to be fair, Conan O'Brien, when he was the host of that show started losing ratings fast.
Well, see, that's the end-all, be-all right there. If you lose the ratings, you're going to get shit canned.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how bad he was. Letterman started getting better ratings than him, and Letterman never beat Leno, not even in their finales. More people saw Leno's last show, even though nobody talks about it, than they did Letterman's last night, or the other night.
That's not really the best gauge, because as time goes on, we start DVRing things, or like you guys watched it online, and factor into who actually watches the last episode.
They retired within a year of each other. I'm not sure technology progressed to the point where it's that big a difference.
Oh, yeah, it does. Technology has been like that since the last 4 years. I'll openly admit it. Fuck, I don't even have a subscription to the cable or anything like that. Want to know what I have in my house? A TV hooked up to a Chromecast with my phone, my roommate's phone, and both of our computers hooked up to that Chromecast right there. That means we can watch Netflix, we can watch YouTube, Pandora, Amazon Prime, Hulu, you name it, streaming source, and we're able to watch it live like that.
That's why HBO has did a Netflix-like subscription now, because people are getting away from cable TV because it's too expensive.
Yeah, and if any of you folks over who make Chromecast are listening to this podcast, we are very much willing to repeat this on a weekly basis. If you're just willing to sponsor us, thank you.
Oh, dude, I'll fucking admit, I love the Chromecast thing. I'm laying on my couch half naked. All I have to do is remote. I can do everything on my phone. I watch YouTube. I can stream anything I want from it.
To anybody from Chromecast who may be listening, I guarantee you that will be the last time Mario says he's half naked with Chromecast.
What? I'm sorry.
Are you going to bleep me again?
Sorry, I spaced out after half naked.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Jamaal just pulled out the hand lotion.
Oh, I just dropped ice cream on me.
You're making this better. You're making this better.
You are Jamaal's wet dream right now.
Anyway, I still think that SNL at this moment is probably better at making stars than other mediums. Maybe the more I think about it, maybe on par with the Tonight Show. But Mario's right. Who has the Tonight Show or the Late Show launched in the last 10 years?
With Lorne Michael, and since he's been doing movies and been producing movies, comedies solely with SNL people, that's why you kind of sell your soul to him to get that opportunity, and then you have to make, sometimes you have to make these stupid movies just because you're contracted to him. And I guess it's a double-edged sword. You get out there and you can showcase your stuff, but then you have to do this stuff.
Oh, by the way, if you're wondering who the stars are that are going to come out of this generation, it's probably them. Jay Farrow, Cecily Stroud. In fact, 2 of the 4 Ghostbusters in the new one coming up, directed by Kevin Feige, are both currently on SNL.
Well, that's how it was with the other Ghostbuster cast. It was Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray.
He was gone at that point. He wasn't on the show.
No, but he's an alum.
Oh yeah.
And it was supposed to be John Belushi, but he died before the Ghostbusters was made. Did you know that?
I did not know that he was supposed to. Was it Venkman?
Yeah, he is supposed to be.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, basically, Dan Aykroyd planned on his entire career at the side of John Belushi.
That is so sweet.
That kind of is.
That is really genuinely sweet.
Because they did 2 movies together. They did Blues Brothers and they did Neighbors. And Neighbors wasn't as good as Blues Brothers, but it was pretty decent.
You don't see that nowadays, except for, well, I take that back. You do see that nowadays. Key and Peele.
Key and Peele, definitely, yeah.
But they're always going to be linked together to some extent. I really hope that they both like each get at least one really big movie or big role outside of each other.
There have been other like duos, like the guy who played House, Hugh Laurie. He was in a comedy troupe with Stephen Fry. They were Fry and Laurie.
Which were fucking hilarious.
They were.
Well, no,
because it's Fry and Laurie.
Yeah.
Gervais has his own little group over there too. Like he has over there what Sandler has over here.
Yeah, and then
don't get me started on Sandler.
What's his face?
Yeah.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and the other guy who.
Right, but I in those situations you know one of them's bigger than the other. Like one of them's a star and the others are kind of just his buddies. Whereas in Key and Peele or Aykroyd and Belushi, they were both kind of established.
See, here in America, Simon Pegg is bigger than Frost, but in England, Frost is actually a pretty big deal. He gets a lot of stuff on his own.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. He was in Attack the Block, and that was amazingly successful over there across the pond. Yeah.
I heard about it. I didn't really get into it though.
He plays the main weed dealer in the Block, and he's kind of funny.
I'm probably going to get crap for this, but since we're talking about British humor, I'm still firmly a Rowan Atkinson guy.
Rowan Atkinson's fucking hilarious.
Yes, he is.
Hot wife, too.
It did my heart good to see him in the opening ceremony of the Olympics.
Oh, God, yes.
That was so cool. So cool.
Couldn't believe they brought him in for that one joke. I'm like, gotta love you guys. Gotta love you guys.
I never realized just how big Mr. Bean was until later, after
he's fucking world.
No, not just Rowan Atkinson, but Mr. Bean itself, the
character,
the character in the show.
Yeah.
I never realized how big how big that was until after the shows were done. Because I think he stopped making them after the American movie.
There was an American movie.
Yeah, he did an American version. He came to America.
What was it actually called? Mr. Bean Comes to America?
Just called Bean.
No.
It was just called Bean.
Was it just the Bean? Okay. Because he did 2 movies.
It's called Flickin' the Bean.
He did Bean, and then he did Mr. Bean Goes Somewhere. I forget where.
Let's see. Oh, wow. He's actually doing a TV series right now called Mr. Bean.
No. What you guys need to do is look up the other stuff Rowan Atkinson does. There's something called the Black Adder.
Yeah.
So basically, he plays a leg.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Blackadder.
Oh God, the guy is he's more than a one-hit wonder. I'm sure kids here or most fans from any generation probably only know him as Bean, but they need to look up more of Rowan Atkinson's work. He is an absolute comedic genius.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He was in one of the Hot Shot movies. I think it was the first one. I think he was the guy that they were going after, that they were trying to rescue.
No, it was the second one.
Yeah, he was in part 2.
Yeah, and he couldn't move because his shoelaces were tied together.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did 2 Johnny English movies.
Yep.
Yes, he did.
Which you gotta love any kind of spy parody movie.
Oh, his Johnny Englishes were absolutely hilarious.
I as we're talking about this, and we're recommending it, I'm thinking kids will probably not get that humor. There is a definite gap between there's a definite difference in taste between generations. Because I don't find anything that the kids are into nowadays funny.
There is that gap through generations, and there's the stuff that gets lost in translation between English idiosms and our own verbiage. So there's a lot of people who will, well, Mr. Bean, he doesn't really talk, so it's all sight gags. So there's nothing to lose in translation there. But if you go into like Fry and Laurie, or you go into like Faulty Towers, or you go into Are You Being Served, there's a lot there that people might not get because they don't understand the language, even though it's English.
Okay, this is just an off the cuff one, but do you guys remember the Red Green show?
Yes, that was Canadian though.
Okay, yes, it was. The guy that was in charge of the show, Red Green, he's actually, it was his show, so he put every single episode, and he ran for like 14 seasons or something crazy like that. I forget what it was, but every single episode is on YouTube right now.
Nice.
It is like that was the thing that I would do growing up. It's like I would watch the Red Green show and then watch SNL because it was so goddamn funny.
All right, let's change gears here for a minute. Today's film assignment. Why don't you go ahead? It was your idea, Jamaal. So why don't you go ahead and explain it?
All right. So initially, I just wanted to watch over. What is it? Oh God, the title again.
Quick Change.
Quick Change.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quick Change. It's a movie directed by Bill Murray, with Bill Murray back when I liked Bill Murray.
Oh, did Bill Murray direct that?
He co-directed it.
No, yeah. I thought he co-wrote, not direct.
We'll have to look that up now.
Oh, I had that backwards. I'm sorry. I thought he co-wrote, but he co-directed it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
The other director co-wrote it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a really good movie, and it's the kind of Bill Murray that I like. That kind of like really clever, smarmy, smart ass. Not now eccentric Bill Murray. Wes Anderson's Bill Murray. I'm not completely on board with that, but I just wanted to watch it. And as I was thinking about it, it's set in New York, like the most hippest now city in the world. And I thought, why not watch that and then watch another movie, a more recent movie comedy set in the same place, just so we could pull like a whole bunch of differences, like how the city has evolved, how humor has evolved, and just appreciate Bill Murray. And okay, who wants to go first and talk about their? Well, here you want to talk about Quick Change itself as a movie. What you guys thought?
Did you do the homework assignment, Mario?
Yes, I watched the movie. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the second one. I got called in early for work today.
But did you watch Quick Change?
Yeah, I watched Quick Change. That was the one that I was able to watch.
What'd you think?
I thought it was hilarious. Like, I legitimately laughed out loud a couple of times when I was watching it.
Have you seen this before?
Years and years ago. Growing up, just because my sisters are older. I mean, not too much older, but they grew up in the 80s, and essentially I was born in the late 80s, and because of my sisters, I watched a lot of the 80s movies and a lot of 70s movies, and, my parents are older as well. So I saw this movie. I like you said, there were a lot of references that nowadays jokes are based off of.
Yeah.
And I not knew those, but I was more familiar with them. And it was a nice refresher just to hear them again. But it's exactly like you were saying, that his old humor it made me laugh so goddamn hard. It was that dry humor that had that perfect wit that Bill Murray has. And it made me laugh so goddamn hard. I would recommend it.
For your kids today who see him in nothing but Wes Anderson movies, imagine that, but with energy and life.
See, the nice thing about Quick Change was that he was actually kind of understated in this movie. He didn't do the over the top kind of reactions that he has done in like Ghostbusters or like in Stripes or some of the other.
He wasn't Caddyshack. Basically.
Caddyshack too, yeah.
Yeah.
He did a lot of over the top stuff, especially in Caddyshack. He went so far with that character. He went about as far as he could. There's this one scene where Bill Murray and Chevy Chase are together, and it is completely improv, and it doesn't feel improv. It just feels like two guys trying to top one another. And these are two guys who are pretty much at the prime of their professional career.
Those two actually got into a fist fight?
Did they?
No, yeah. You know how Chase left after just the first season?
Yeah.
Murray was brought in to replace him. Chevy Chase comes back. He's done a movie. He feels like a big man. Comes back, lords it over everybody. Murray and him get into a fist fight in the back room.
Nice.
Huh.
But they apparently put aside their differences because there was a genuine kind of chemistry to them, and going in almost the opposite direction. This was a very very subtle Bill Murray. His jokes were the same, and you're right, they delivered with that same kind of wit and same kind of timing that he gives everything else. It's just very soft spoken, and it was actually kind of interesting to see this guy who slowly ramps up and doesn't go too far with it versus Venkman, who is almost screaming at the top of his lungs about the end of the world.
Yeah. I absolutely love Bill Murray in this movie because it's the Bill Murray that I grew up loving. To me, it seems like he's half interested in things now. He's always sort of kind of lethargic, sort of kind of just lazy in his delivery, and I mostly see him in Wes Anderson stuff, and I don't get the quirky. I just kind of get off and weird, and it's not. There's a difference between weird and quirky is endearing. Weird is just weird. I like this movie just because it's the Bill Murray from Ghostbusters. It's the Bill Murray from. I think Stripes will probably be a good one. It's his last really good thing for me before Groundhog Day killed who he was, because something happened on that set. You guys can look this up on the internet. Something happened on that set that killed both him as the original Bill Murray and his relationship with Harold Ramis. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but the two of them just could not get along on that set, and something apparently was really wrong with Bill Murray there. What did you guys think of Quaid in that movie?
See, Quaid was the part that was kind of over the top. He kind of reminded me of the one guy from Aliens who always kept saying "Game over, man, game over."
That was Randy Quaid.
In Aliens, no.
No. I'm thinking of something else altogether. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was like Bill Paxton.
Yeah, I don't know why, but you said that, and I thought Independence Day for some reason.
Oh yeah.
No. Sorry.
No.
Anyway.
No, but he kind of reminded me of that because everything was like that. It was all the game over. It was all the we're going to die. I mean, that part where he's trying to hail a cab, where it's almost King Lear like, a horse, my kingdom for a horse. He's down on his knees. He's like, I'd pay $1 million for a taxi cab right now, and he's crying. And the other two just kind of raise their hand, and the cab stops.
Wait, don't you think that was the direction he wanted to take it? Like, he was supposed to be, out of all of them there, even with Bill Murray, he was supposed to be the mentally unstable one.
I don't think it was mentally unstable. I think he was just kind of dumb. But yeah, I mean, he was the guy who was supposed to be that. And it's interesting because Bill Murray's usually the over-the-top guy, and he allowed Dennis Quaid to be that. And it was almost Dennis Quaid being the comedian and Bill Murray being the straight man.
Randy Quaid, by the way.
Randy Quaid, I'm sorry. I always get those two confused. But it was just interesting that he allowed, Randy Quaid to run with it and do that, and he not, get an ego about it.
Being the co-director on this film, I think he saw that. If Bill Murray is happy with that performance, it's probably fitting into. It's getting past the Bill Murray, what's funny, what's not funny test.
Oh yeah.
Gina Davis, lovely as always. But I feel, it's hard to pin down exactly what her significance to the film is, other than being the love interest.
She's the love interest, but they do the cliche thing. I have something to tell you, but something important to tell you, but something always comes up, so I can't tell you thing. And I see this a lot in movies, and this, was probably not the first time it was done, but, it was early on in the career of that joke or that plot point, is that her character was something to make Bill Murray's character feel like a jerk at some point. There's a point where Gina Davis gets mad at Bill Murray for what seems like no real purpose, just to kind of add conflict to the movie. It's like at one point she's like, she's in love with him, and then at some point she's like, oh, he's a bank robber, I'm not going to love him anymore, and I'm going to be pissed off at him. And she robbed a bank with him, so it's not like this is news to her. So it's like her character at times seemed like she was only there to add kind of manufactured tension to the movie, and that didn't need to happen. They could have done other stuff with her, but she did have a couple of good lines, and I love the line where Randy Quaid is like, "Is that our plane?" And she's like, "No, if that was our plane, it would have crashed.
Blown up.
It would have
Wasn't
blown."
it?
Something like that, yeah. Something like that, and it's just a wonderful line. It's a wonderful delivery, and that's something like, surprised that Bill Murray didn't say that because it was such a great line. But he, they gave it to her, and that kind of almost gives her purpose to be in the film. And then it's the whole end where is she or is she not on the plane kind of a thing. And they tried to shoehorn kind of romantic comedy into an otherwise comedic kind of heist movie. And it's like they could have dropped that portion of the plot and still had a good movie, a good comedy.
At the very least, she has good chemistry with Bill Murray. It's not something though. I didn't see the two of them like together and go, well, they're just they're acting a scene now. They seem like they genuinely like got on well.
No, they had good chemistry, and they had a good exchange too. And there were some times that they acted like the old married couple, like the people who had history together, and that was really kind of cool.
Yeah. Surprise appearances in there. Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub was a surprise. The guy who played Red from that '70s show.
Kurtwood Smith.
He was a surprise.
Tucci. Stanley Tucci was in there.
Yeah, I know he was in there, but I can't remember.
I can't think of where he was.
Oh God, Johnny.
Oh, he was the gangster. That's right. He was the guy who had the gun in Bill Murray's back when they entered the warehouse.
That's right, he was.
He was the guy who was thrown out of the car by Mario.
Yes, he was.
That psychopath.
I thought I'm not exactly sure how far this was into Shalhoub's character or Shalhoub's career. I mean, but I could see where this would make an impression on people and why he got work like in Monk and stuff after that.
Well, yeah, because his character completely speaking a different language, but he kind of, especially when he's around the cops, he kind of steals the show from the cops.
He does.
He does, yeah, and his whole thing was, you have to convey, at the very least to the audience, that this is the wrong guy, or that that the cops are in the wrong direction, and you have to do this through your physical actions, because nobody's gonna understand any of the dialogue that you say.
Just the scene where he gets out of the car, just falls to his knees immediately, and just starts crying and crawling at the same time over there. That stuck with me in this movie for some reason.
Oh, that was funny, yeah.
that was just really stuck with me for some reason.
That was good, and at the very end, when they pull Red off of the plane, and he's saying, no, that's the wrong guy, that's not the right guy, and they just haul him away. I think that was really good too, because he had like a second to convey that, and he just nailed it.
What did you guys think of how New York is portrayed in the film?
I can't really say it because every single movie portrays New York differently. So, yes is my answer. It was portrayed for what it needed to be for that film itself. It was a hectic place. It was, a place where you would imagine people screaming at construction workers from their second-story window. And at the same time, a place that was oddly quiet for being one of the largest cities. So, not really what I thought New York would be like, portrayed like that, but it's also a movie, so the sense of wonderment can be anything.
I disagree with you on a couple of things there. I think New York is generally portrayed as the parts of New York that are always recognizable to people, like certain areas, certain parks are used over and over again, and that's all you ever see in films. A great example in this movie, as they get out of the bank, one of the first things they do is they go to that what do you call it? The payphone, right?
Yeah.
It's in Brooklyn somewhere. When have you ever seen that particular spot? I mean, it's dirty, it's graffitied up, it is horrible. They pick places in New York that nobody sees. Like, not they're not the appealing places in New York, and I appreciate the fact that they went to those places instead of going to, like, let's say, Central Park or wherever the best view of the Empire State Building is, that sort of thing. I really appreciate the fact that they didn't stick to postcard New York.
No, I totally agree with you there that, you know, they could have just filled it with landmarks. You know, the only landmark you really see in this is the Statue of Liberty, and that's after they make a reference that they haven't seen any landmarks. That they walk away and then the camera pans up and it reveals the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't see that. You don't see the Twin Towers, which would have existed at the time.
Yeah.
You don't see the Empire State Building. You don't see Times Square, which everybody likes to show Times Square, especially in a disaster movie like the Will Smith one, I Am Legend. Yeah, where he's walking through it and it's all overgrown, and that's a really cool shot. And it's great because it's different than the New York that you always see. But then that one's starting to be cliche because they did that in Vanilla Sky, and they did that in something else that was either a dream sequence or a Manhattan that was post-apocalyptic. So it's like, you know, even when you do something new like that, it's not really new. So it's cool to see, you know, New York from this almost pedestrian kind of way. It's shot at street level, it's shot at eye level. You're not seeing over the rooftops, you're not seeing upward to see the skyline. At no time do they ever do a wide shot of the city and show the skyline.
Yeah, I
You know what it
that.
really seemed like to me? It seemed like people, you know, because he kept saying the phrase, you know, we're going to get out of the city. We're not, you know, we're not from the city. Or, you know, that essential, that not touristy, but that very much like we were here for a reason and it never came through, so we're leaving. And like it felt like someone who didn't belong in New York, and it was all the shitty, not the shitty parts, but like the over exaggerated parts that you would think of New York. You know, them not seeing any landmarks. You know, people who live in New York can get by without seeing landmarks. Yes, it helps, but you can get by without seeing landmarks. Whereas someone that's like a tourist or someone who's, you know, lived there for only like a couple of months or about a year or so, when they see something like that, then they're able to get their bearings. So it really seemed like it was people who
were lost.
Yeah, who were lost, and they were, which was really funny. And we're just trying to desperately get out of just the fucked up place and the fucked up situation that they were in, and it just so happened to be all centralized in New York. Could this have worked in like Detroit or something like that? Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. Again, it just added to that extra little bit of humor.
Yeah.
In reality, when the movie opens up and they first start talking, you don't know what city it is. You know it's a major city, and when you first see the cops, you're not even sure if they're New York or if they're Chicago or whatever. Yeah. So it disorients you in the beginning until they start talking specifically about New York, which is kind of cool because everybody else is like, yeah, we're in New York, we're so proud of that fact, or you know, things of that nature. They're like, they almost hide the fact that they're in New York.
To kind of piggyback off of what Mario's saying, I love the reason I picked New York is it's the most portrayed city in like film, probably, most likely.
Well, that and Los Angeles.
That in Los Angeles. I love films about big cities, but I only really love them when they give cities personality. Like you go to the clubs that are there. You videotape. You know, you film people on the street. You get the lingo. Even down to food and stuff like that, and the music and all you create atmosphere and vibe. And I love that when certain films like really good make it a point to portray that over the course of the running.
Oh, seeing those hot dog vendors running off into the fray to go sell more hot dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a beautiful little touch.
Nice.
In front of the bank, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a beautiful touch.
Again, that's something that adds personality to the city.
Yep.
Like, for instance, LA. If I saw a movie about LA, I would want to see the fake boobs and the billboards and
The
like
Hollywood sign.
the Hollywood sign. I want personality from those kinds of movies, from cities, from the cities in those movies. And so, Quick Change is a good example of one of those movies for me. So that's part of the reason why I picked it. I thought like they kept going to like the seedier parts of New York. I thought they did a really good job of kind of like giving those neighborhoods and those places like like a real identity, like the people, the way it was dressed, the specific locations they were on, the cross streets they were on. Um, Again, it's just I love how New York has its own feel in this movie that I don't find in other movies.
No, no, my foot's asleep and it really hurts.
How does it hurt?
What do you mean, how does it hurt? Has your foot never fallen asleep?
But it doesn't hurt when it falls asleep. It
Oh,
just
my
feels
foot's
tingling.
no, my foot's been asleep for about like a good half hour at this point in time.
Here, stomp on it.
Let's stomp on you.
Stomp on it.
Hit it with a crowbar.
Oh yeah, that'll be good.
Okay.
Fuck you. No, I'm just trying to get up.
You won't feel a goddamn thing. You still thinking of that other movie in set in New York that you're aware of? Mario?
What? Uh, I had one, but I lost it right now.
How about Harlem Nights?
That was a Bill Duke movie.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
That was a.
Eddie Murphy. Trading Places. No, wait, that was Chicago. Never
That
mind.
was Chicago.
Yeah. No, wait. No, they were on the exchange. So I think that was New York, wasn't it?
Money
No.
Train?
Oh no, you're right. That was Chicago, or that was New York.
It was New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Seen Money Train?
No.
With Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. Yep.
Was that a comedy? 'Cause I didn't laugh too much with that one.
Yeah, it's a weird. I don't know what to call it.
I learned something about Wesley Snipes the other day, which I thought was absolutely hilarious.
What did you learn about him?
I was watching some interviews with Patton Oswalt, who apparently was in Blade Trinity,
I know what you're about to say. I've heard the rumors too.
and apparently Wesley Snipes went a little crazy on that film set.
Yep.
He beat up, or he hit the director, and the director, the supporting cast and crew hired a biker gang to work security for the director for the remainder of the film.
Yep.
Wesley Snipes insisted everybody refer to him as Blade, and would not answer anybody who referred to him as Wesley or Mr. Snipes.
Because he's aware that his name doesn't fit.
And he communicated with everybody through Post-it notes. Anything he wanted to say to anybody, he'd write on a Post-it note and hand it to him.
Fucking piece of shit.
I don't know if he was like that in the other Blade movies. The first Blade movie was amazing. The second one was okay. The third one was kind of crappy. So maybe it was just because the third one was kind of crappy. And we have to see Whistler die for a third time, and it no longer was shocking or surprising or anybody care. So maybe this wore down on him, and he just kind of went a little nuts with it.
If you thought he was big and a bitch on that set, you should have seen him on Too Long.
Was he a diva in that one?
Literally.
Literally, yeah. No, but that's where Johnny Leguizamo and Patrick Swayze got into a fist fight on that set, and with Wesley Snipes egging both of them on.
Well, in Wesley Snipes' defense, I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, back to New York and Quick Change. What was the other movie you saw, Alex?
The other movie I saw was Tower Heist, starring Ben Stiller, Eddie Murphy, Casey Affleck, Alan Alda, which I'm a big fan of from MASH, Matthew Broderick, Judd Hirsch, Téa Leone,
Leone.
whatever, Mrs. Fox Mulder.
Not anymore.
So this is the story of Alan Alda's character is like a an investment banker or financial investor or whatever. He's invested the retirement fund of the staff of the building that he lives in. And then it turns out that he's a huge fraud, that he just embezzled all the money. And then the staff of the hotel find out that he's probably keeping the money in cash in his apartment. So they all plan a heist to break into his apartment. And Ben Stiller is the head of security. Casey Affleck is like the concierge at the front desk. The chick who played Precious was like part of the maid service. They bring Eddie Murphy in as kind of the idea man because he's a criminal.
Yeah.
I forget what Matthew Broderick played in that.
He was the Wall Street guy that lost everything, and he lived in that building, and they were trying to evict him.
That's right. So, and then Michael Pena, who played one of the other security guys, and then Tay Leone, who was a FBI.
He was a concierge guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was. So they all. So everything takes place or most everything takes place in this one building, in this high rise in New York, and the juxtaposition of this to Quick Change is that Quick Change, like I said, was done on the street level. It was done in these poor, unique neighborhoods that almost looked like they were Skid Row. Some of the neighborhoods were actually void of life and people, which made them a little creepier and a little scarier. Whereas on the other side, we're in a high-rise building, we're in a luxury apartment, a penthouse apartment, of a guy who's not only made millions, but has stolen millions of dollars. And where the hiding place of the money I thought was obvious. I guess that as soon as I saw it, as soon as I saw it on screen, I knew that's exactly where the money was hidden.
Yeah.
So I thought that was obvious. Other than that, though, I think it's a brilliant little comedy. It's one of the funnier things I've seen in a long time from Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy. I think those guys, they kind of stopped being funny after a while, especially Eddie Murphy. He's been in Shrek and he was good in Shrek, but he hasn't done anything live action that has been really funny or really well received in a while. I think Bowfinger might have been the last thing that he was in, but I wasn't too impressed with that one.
Well, it's funny you bring up the juxtaposition of this movie to that. One of the things I kept saying about Quick Change was that it was vintage Bill Murray, or the Bill Murray that I remember from back in the day. For me, Tower Heist is vintage Eddie Murphy. It's him reaching back to the Eddie Murphy that put him on the map. God, what was the movie with him and Aykroyd?
Trading Places.
Trading Places, and
then 24 Hours would have been his other really big one.
Yeah, or was it 36 hours?
That's 48 hours.
48 hours. Watch, we're gonna keep going. Next thing you know,
I was like, what? Are we just gonna go like 60 hours next?
Yeah.
60 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This was that Eddie Murphy, and I hadn't seen that Eddie Murphy in a while.
It was, and it did feel like when they opened up the thing to his jail cell, it was just like out of Trading Places. That was just like out of 48 Hours. You expected him to be Billy Ray Valentine, and just to embody that character, and he does a little bit, but it's a completely separate character from all the other ones, and he did kind of what you fell in love with that Eddie Murphy did. It's like even someone in Beverly Hills Cop. It's that kind of feel, that guy who's just kind of flying by the seat of his pants.
Well, he looks like he's engaged in this movie, like he's really trying. Mm-hmm. Like that was my complaint about Bill Murray, that he sort of kind of looks aloof a lot of the time. This is Eddie Murphy in Tower Heist really trying, like he's really excited about it, and he has energy and life to him, and that's what's missing from older comics.
Yeah, same with Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller has kind of lost that edge too. I mean, he did Dodgeball, what was great, and then like right before that or right after that, he did Starsky and Hutch, which was blah.
Yeah,
and it was funny too because it was kind of all the same people from Dodgeball. And then what else has he done? He's made appearances here and there. He appeared in Anchorman, and he appeared in something else where he had a bit part. And that's almost funnier than an entire movie of him. And then when this came around, I'm like Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy. The first time I saw it, I was like, I'll pay for it, but I probably won't like it. And I actually ended up enjoying it. I thought it was one of the funnier things that both those guys have done in a long time.
Mario, have you seen the movie?
Which one?
Tower Heist.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should. I highly recommend it.
All right, I'm gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah.
Warning.
I've seen most of the other ones that you guys are talking about right now, but no, I haven't seen Tower Heist.
Warning. It is Brett Ratner, so.
It is Brett Ratner, and I keep forgetting that. And like, it's a Brett Ratner movie that I like and I can get behind. Like,
I think the only thing that I can discernibly tell that is Brett Ratner in that film is probably the aesthetics, like the color palette and all of that. Otherwise, nothing. It's very different from his routine stuff.
He likes the idea of pairing up like two people of different ethnicities to work together.
This is true.
Which is really kind of a cool thing, that he takes these actors of different ethnicity and makes them work together, and they're fine with it. And a lot of times ethnicity never comes into it. So like, Rush Hour was a big thing that he did, and he played on that, and it played very well. Like after the first maybe half of the first Rush Hour, the race is no longer really applied.
Yeah.
And he kind of does that, and he does that very well. That you forget the people's physical appearance, and you are very interested in the character. And in fact, the only movie that really he didn't do that with was probably X-Men 3.
I just thought of this now. Brett Ratner is probably he's a fantastic 90s director who's still directing 90s movies today.
Yeah. And Brett Ratner did one of the Hannibal movies. I think he did Red Dragon, is it?
I think he did Hannibal Rising. I can't remember which one. Might have been Red Dragon.
It was Red Dragon that he did, and Red Dragon is such a departure from everything else that he does, which it always blows my mind that Red Dragon was the one that he did. Like if he had done one of like Hannibal Rising or just Hannibal, which I think were a couple of the weaker ones in the Hannibal Lecter series, I would have been all like, well, that's Brett Ratner, but no, he did a really good job with that one. That's almost as good as Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, that's some very heavy praise you're
Oh, I got it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Hercules in New York.
That was Schwarzenegger, wasn't it?
No. You're gonna call him by the name he was credited in that film originally, Arnold Strong.
Yes, he was.
Well, just because he used a pseudonym doesn't make him any less Schwarzenegger.
Anyway, Schwarzenegger.
Do you know what his last name means in Austrian?
What?
Black Plowman.
Say that again.
Seriously.
Say that again.
Black Plowman.
Black Plowman.
Yep. Yeah, he talks about that on I think it's a David Letterman show. He talks about the origins of his last name.
Okay.
That was a while ago. That was back in mid to late 90s. Okay. But you can definitely find that on the YouTubes.
On the YouTubes.
God, you sound old when you say that.
I know. It's part of the reason why I say it like that.
Okay. Just everything is the.
You got to put the at the beginning of everything. Like
wait,
the
YouTubes. You've never pointed out the fact that I call it the Facebook.
Yeah, but it's easier to make fun of Alex.
This is true.
I am old.
It's true.
Yeah. He doesn't want to tell you exactly how old he is, folks. The movie I picked.
Okay, folks. We're going to have a poll. The first person to guess Alex's age right, I owe you $1.
If you go to our website, mof.ninja, and leave a comment in the comment section on this particular podcast, guessing a number of my age, yes, Mario will send you $1. We will track you down via your email, which will be attached to your comments, and we'll contact you and get your address, and Mario will send you $1. A crisp, brand new $1 bill. no creases.
And if you enjoy this show, please share us with your loved ones. Go to your loved ones and give them the gift of MOF Ninja. We're like AIDS.
No, we're not like AIDS at all.
Wow, that went dark fast.
What?
Well, see, I was just going to say tie them down and force them to listen to it. But
We're like sodomy.
no. We're like sodomy for your ears. No, I don't think we're that either.
Okay.
That's a bit brutal. I don't think we're that edgy.
Yeah, we come lewd.
We're more missionary style for your ears.
Anyway, the movie I picked. I had absolutely no interest in seeing this movie because it was kind of like a chick flick until I actually saw it and loved it.
Wait, hold on. Before you even say that,
But
what was the factor that made you watch a movie you didn't want to watch?
I was bored out of my skull. I didn't feel like actually like looking. I didn't know what to watch that day. I was literally just watching HBO and like going, what can I go on demand for? And just couldn't think of anything. And then it just started. It was the next movie in the line, I guess. And I didn't feel like changing the channel, and I'm really glad I didn't.
Okay. So I do this thing once in a while that I refer to as movie roulette, where I will just randomly pick a movie on like Netflix or Amazon or whatever, and just watch it. And whatever it is, good, bad, or other, I have to watch the whole thing because that's how the game goes.
For those of you who listen to original shows and are wondering how he found Laser Mission, this is how.
This is it. I played a movie roulette. It was in the dollar bin at some store, and it didn't even come in a plastic hardcover clamshell case. It was in a paper envelope. That's how cheaply this movie was, and that's why I bought it and watched it. And I had to watch the whole thing because that's how the game is played. Now, Jamaal, what was the movie you watched?
Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Oh, see, I saw that movie. That's actually not a bad movie, and I felt the same way going into it.
Not like right. You see the trailers, you hear about it, who's in it, and like I don't want to see a teen rom-com with Michael Cera and Kat Dennings, and then you actually watch the movie, and it is a surprisingly well-made movie. Like if you're a young director out there and you're trying to make a quality film with not a whole lot going for you except for a few cameras, perhaps, Alex, this is probably.
Sorry, Jamaal. Who's this actor?
Yeah, not anymore.
Ooh.
I see what side of the bread his butter lays on.
Okay, what? Anyway, I have to say, in the same way that Quick Change didn't stick to Postcard New York, this movie does that as well, and I really appreciate that, and it goes that extra step beyond to give the city personality. I appreciate that anytime I see like world famous global cities on film, and thankfully it kind of zeroes in on a certain subculture of New York, which is the music scene there and like the club scene.
Right.
So you kind of get a sense of that world, and it gives New York a tune basically, or at least a part of New York a tune. And so you kind of get it gives it a personality that you get to follow throughout the whole thing. They choose places that you don't normally see in film. They
really thought about it. It was very well thought out in all those aspects.
Well, what I was about to say, your movie, Tower Heist,
Mm-hmm.
It's almost set completely in that building.
Mm-hmm.
So you never really go outside. You never get a sense of the neighborhood. You never get a sense of the lay of the land. Whereas Quick Change, it's literally an entire night of driving around. Or not Quick Change, Nick and Nora.
Right.
They spend the vast majority of that movie driving from neighborhood to neighborhood, finding one thing after another. And I appreciate the fact that they realized that they were in this eclectic, diverse city, and really tried to reflect that in the film.
In a way, it's kind of like a road movie. They're on the road. They're traveling. They don't leave the city.
Yeah. There's so much I could say about it. For one thing, I thought that movie kind of won me over to the two leads because I wasn't a fan of theirs before. and to some extent, still not a huge fan of Michael Cera, but he's pretty good in this film.
It was a different part for him in this one. He didn't play the stumbling idiot like he plays in all the other films.
Yeah, he's more lovelorn idiot in this one.
But I have to say that I feel the opposite about Kat Durning. I think I would probably watch anything that she's in.
I wasn't completely aware of who she was. I always thought she was like the quirky sidekick, and then I saw this film and thought, you know what? There's a star there. There's quality there. There's an actual talent there.
Well, you and everybody else, but she has been the quirky sidekick in a lot of other things. She was in The House Bunny, where she played one of the other girls.
One of many quirky sidekicks.
Yes.
Back to Nick and Nora. Soundtrack was great. Actual performances were great. I thought the plot in general, I could see where that would fail on paper. I'm glad that somebody saw that script and said, well, let them improvise and ad-lib a little and you'll have something. Because it's basically just them like chasing down a band the entire film, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good movie. Really, I'm in love with the way it was shot. Just like that single camera following them from just as they're driving throughout the streets. I really appreciated that.
It had a very independent or very kind of foreign film feel about it.
Yeah, and I usually I'm not really into that stuff, but I really liked it in this film.
Have you seen it, Mario?
No, I haven't.
I would highly recommend it.
Okay. It's always been one of those movies on the fence about, like, if I were just high on a Sunday and the remote was just out of reach, I would have watched it. But it was never really a movie that I would have gone out to go see and watch.
I didn't want to see the movie either until I actually just sat through it. And again, it's a really well-made film done with very little to it. Like, I don't think there's a huge budget to it. I don't think they spent a lot of time doing it either. But it just turned out really great. And up and coming directors could probably take a lesson from this film. Hello?
I don't like Jamaal anymore. Everybody within the sound of my voice, just write on the website you don't like Jamaal either.
No. That's where I get. That's where we're supposed to go for the popularity contest. You're not allowed to influence them.
Oh, believe me, you're influencing them more than I am.
Okay, viewers, so here's another poll that we're going to have. We're going to have votes. Every vote is a love toward Alex, or a vote is a love toward Jamaal. Whoever gets the most votes will
we'll get $1 from Mario.
I was going to say, whoever loses out of those two will have to send $1 to
the person who guesses my age.
The person who guesses his age gets an extra $1.
Yeah, there you go. That one dude is just gonna get so much money.
And we're all broke.
He's gonna.
Guess what? We're kickstarting the money he's getting.
Yeah, that one person is just gonna get ones of dollars.
He's gonna be an heir, not a millionaire, 1,000 just an heir.
Just an heir. You're going to be $1 heir, and you're going to be able to take your newfound fortune over to the strip club and spend exactly 2 seconds in it.
You can get a hot dog for a couple bucks.
Not at the strip club.
Not at a titty bar.
No, I said you could go get a hot dog for a couple bucks, not at the titty bar.
No, the titty bar has free food, and it's usually, Taco Tuesday, and it's a taco bar.
You don't eat anything at the nudie bar. You know where the other people...
Tuesday.
You know where the other guests' hands have been?
They have a sneeze guard and tongs.
Oh my god!
I'll tell you this: back in Toledo, there was this strip club. I forget the name of it. It had the best BLT I ever had, and every Friday, if you went early enough, you didn't have to pay cover, and then they had free lunch on top of that. And the BLT was on the menu for the free lunch.
I bet you love the mayo in that.
So anyway, I would go there every Friday for free lunch because, I was kind of broke at the time. And then...
at Titties.
At Titty McGee's or whatever it was called. Now, the thing is, when you go to a strip club during the day, there's not a lot of patrons there. and the girls who work there aren't always the A team. They're not the first string team.
They're the girls with the bullet wounds.
They're the junior varsity teams. A lot of times they're the girls who were waitresses who are kind of just learning how to work the pole and want to get into dancing, or they're the girls that are kind of winding down their career who just don't want to pack it in yet.
Still titties though.
But it's
titties.
You don't. Oh, I see. I see Jamaal's standard in his dates. Let's see the checklist. You have boobs. Yes, check. All right, let's go.
Let's get this over with.
So, I would be sometimes the only guy, the only patron in the strip club, and the girls would come around me. I would get my food, then they would leave me alone to eat because nobody likes it when you just sit there and watch them eat. And you feel kind of awkward being the person watching the other person eat, so you don't want to be around. And then when I got done with my sandwich, the girls would come around again and start talking to me.
Okay, so was it like just BLTs that they served, or was it like buffet?
They had actually a full kitchen. This wasn't like a buffet or like something that they had catered in. They had an actual kitchen in the back. Why a strip club would have a kitchen is beyond me. There is no way any of that is passing the health code.
To be fair, my dream has always been to own like a combination KFC and strip club.
God, you're fat and horny, aren't you?
You'd be set for life. You'd have, a leg in one hand, a thigh in the other, maybe a breast in the other. Just convenience.
You do realize that you open yourself up to liability because the first stripper to eat the chicken and then try to dance on the pole is going to break her neck.
Well, I'm just happy that you didn't bring up the fact that would I have them cook? Strippers up there with like grease marks on them and like grease burns all over them, and
that's a look that brings all the boys to the yard.
Yeah, you're gonna have the only strippers in known existence to just be full of pimples. Like it's just gonna be oily and pimply everywhere.
Yes. Right, but they would smell like fried chicken, though.
Boy, we got to get your priorities straight.
There's no customer that's going to go into that place because they're going to come out looking like the bottom of a fry basket. They're going to look like the paper that lines the fry basket. That's all just this grease stripe down the middle. Nobody's going to go home to the wife like that. You're going to have a change of clothes in the car.
Right, I'm still waiting for your deal breaker here.
I think the liability of somebody breaking their neck after eating chicken on the pole is your deal breaker right there.
Well, I wouldn't be feeding the damn strippers. I'd just be like, here, go dance while this guy eats chicken in front of you. Like, slowly. If you are a stripper listening to the show, please leave a comment and your number and picture in the comment section.
And if Jamaal comes at you with his fantastic idea for a new store, just say no.
No, pay attention to the grouch of the show.
Just remember also that Jamaal said he was broke. So any strippers who want to support a broke man, by all means, leave Jamaal a little love.
And again, viewers, if we start another poll right now, then all our money will be going to strippers and the failing career of Jamaal at this point in time in his stripper club.
I'm still trying to figure out what I would call it. Chicks.
You're stupid. I'm sorry, Alex.
Are either...
That was the best he had. Chicks. You're dumb.
It makes sense, though.
But the sign on the front would be like little chickens. They wouldn't be girls. They'd be like little chickens in thongs.
Well, I would have like
better than chicks.
I would have a neon sign of little chickens like falling into like a boiling pot that would turn off and then like boobs in its place.
There's nothing about that place that would bring in customers. Okay, so some strippers are either habitual cocaine users, and they do this to keep up the energy and dull the senses of their job because it is in the naked industry, or they're habitual pot users, which they use to bring down their energy and deaden their senses from being in the naked industry.
I offer cholesterol in their place.
So you will have...
Which goes hand in hand with the fried chicken.
Exactly!
You'll have a bunch of strippers who are coked out who don't want to eat the chicken, And then you'll have a bunch of strippers who are high on weed who will want to eat the chicken. They'll be in the back all day long. Nom, nom, nom. You'll have fat strippers because you've served them fried chicken.
I'm sure there is a market for people who just want to watch like strippers eat chicken. I can make this work.
Okay, on that note,
It is.
I think it is time that we say goodnight.
All right.
So thank you for joining me, Jamaal Alexander. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah. Pick something for next week.
Yes, before we say goodbye, Mario, it's your turn to pick something.
Hercules in New York.
I'll watch it.
Seriously?
I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
No. Let's do a Bill Duke day. Anything Bill Duke.
Starring or directing?
Either.
I'm gonna find something that he was actually the lead in. That's what I'm gonna do, or as close to the lead as I can determine.
Who are you fooling? All three of us are just going to end up watching Sister Act 2.
Yeah.
So, on that note, thank you, Jamaal Alexander.
Wait, wasn't he in like Ghost Samurai or? What was it? Oh no, I'm thinking Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, you are, and that's like Samurai Dog or Ghost Dog. That's what it was.
Ghost Dog. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, on that note,
I was high when I saw that movie.
Yeah, it had to be. So were they when they were making it.
Have you seen? He's constantly. His left eye is just closed all the time. Oh yeah. No, he's.
I didn't think it was closed. I think it was actually looking like the opposite direction. Like it had a mind of its own.
He was glaring at his enemy and the soda machine off the side.
Like he was always afraid like there was another guy coming for him at the other side.
I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to Forrest Whitaker and any Forrest Whitaker fans or family members who might be watching the show or listening to the show.
We owe you $1.
Or anybody with a lazy eye. If you feel offended by this, please leave comments on mof.ninja and Mario will send you $1. You can't buy people's loyalty with dollar bills.
$100 means 100 new subscribers. Booyah.
Outside of the strip club. Now, can I please end the show? Oh, wait, first, before I end the show, Mario, you have an additional homework assignment.
What?
You have to give me a list of movies, if you could remember them, that you've seen while high.
Done.
I thought I lost you guys.
Fucking, I think Jamal's the one that's been blazing it up right now. You hear him coughing? I will make a Mario High list, and I will send all of those to you to put them up under my profile.
Okay. And I would like to say goodbye to everybody. Remember, no matter what the situation is, you should never hit a woman unless her name is Mary Jane.
That made no sense.
What?
It's pot. You hit it.
Okay.
Wow, you guys aren't very good potheads, are you?
Why would you hit Mary? She's the bringer of giggles.
She makes both your eyes go the same way.
Yeah, she makes it sound like Jamal right now.
I will talk to you guys later.
Alright, dude. Take it easy, guys.
Alright.
Join the makers each week as they discuss film, TV, and pop culture. To learn more about them, go to mof.ninja. This is Michael Caine saying goodbye.